Hey YouTube, it's Sean, Griffin RC Planes. In this video, I installed the motor on the Tower Hobbies Uproar. So I'll show you how I went about doing that. Also, it came. It's the second one I bought now. The first one never showed up. I was able to get a full refund though, so that was good. But I got an IX12 transmitter, and I got it for you guys. This will help out with recording the screen of the transmitter to show you guys all the Spektrum stuff. You know, what I'm really good at. If you don't know about these radios, the IX12, IX20, and there might be a couple different versions of the 20. This is a Android phone or an Android tablet built into the transmitter. So all the screen recording and screen sharing and all that stuff will just be so much easier than trying to hold a camera directly at the screen of the transmitter and trying to get all the focus right and stuff. This will make things a whole lot easier. So let me get used to figuring out how to operate it, and then we'll have a bunch of good stuff coming your way. Meanwhile, keep the comments and the requests and the ideas, keep them coming in. You know, we need to keep the pipeline full for quite a while. I also haven't forgot about everybody. I was hoping to do a complete radio setup, start to finish on a couple different receivers on this plane. So that'd be real helpful for everybody. So this will be good for us. And this brings my YouTube investment up to, let's see, one girlfriend, one transmitter, and about $1,500 in cameras and stuff. So keep the subscriptions coming. I really need them. All right, let's put the motor in this thing and see how it goes. Here's a little glimpse of what the screen looks like.
Just to give you guys a quick look at some of my motor stash here and what I got going on. I've got a small selection of motors. I'll run over them real quick. And then I've got a couple tackle boxes full of motor stuff. This particular one is for rebuilding the motors, replacing the bearings and the lock collars. This is the bearing installer sizing tool right here, and various size bearings for some of the motors. And then in this one is for mounting the motors, prop adapters, the cross mounts for different size motors, and some of the mounting hardware, screws to put the prop adapters on the motor, or the cross plates and different stuff. Now this right here, we need to talk about this. This was kind of new to me at one time. I got this, it came with this motor right here, and it came off of an E-Flight, the big sailplane, kind of like the one that has the lights in it. I'm losing the name. But anyways, this is a big piece of weight right here. So if you ever run into a situation where you need to add some nose weight and you just don't have anywhere to put it, I didn't even think of this until I saw it. But instead of just a washer, well, the washer would go on the outside, washer then the nut, but the backing plate rather. So the prop would go on, but this is a big piece of steel. I mean, this thing is heavy, and it's tapered in there so that when it tightens, it locks down the collet. So that's just an idea to get some nose weight up front. Pretty cool. All right, so this motor came off that big sailplane. I'll remember the name of it here in a minute. This is the size motor that is in like the FMS Beaver or the big E-Flight P51, like the blue and white one. This is a 4258 550 kV. This motor here is actually out of the cargo plane that E-Flight makes, the orange and white one. It's only got 3 screws here for the prop adapter, so this is not very strong, but that's why that plane has 2 of these. This is a 50 size motor. This is on like the big carbon cub, the Z cub and all that. You can see the difference between the two. That's huge. This is the motor out of the Draco. Now this motor is just as strong as the one on the right, but it's just in a different form. You know, I guess for the Draco, they didn't need one as long, so they made it bigger and shorter. This is the 550 kV. This is the 400. This is the one we're going to put in the Uproar. It's made by Hobbies. Now this is a 4250 motor, but they got it labeled as a C3520. They're measuring the inside of the motor. They're measuring the width of the stator and the height of the stator instead of measuring the outside of the motor. Let's see if I got it. The stator I just showed you is this one in my right, which came out of an extra 300, a 4250 910 kV. This is the same size motor, but they got it listed as 3520. And if you can kind of imagine, you know, place it in your head that they're the same size. And here's another 300 motor. That's good. This is an EDF motor out of I think the E-Flight F15 with a 40 amp speed control. Just came across it somehow. And then I've got extra stuff. This is the main shaft that goes in the then the Spektrum or the Avium 4250 motor, but they're pretty much all the same. You know, the one that we're going to put today, it has the same shaft inside of it. And then here's a shaft for the big BL50 and a prop adapter for it. Yeah, a carbon Z Cub, but it's in a few. I think that new Hangar 9, the balsa plywood plane, this motor's in it.
Like I just said, we were going to use the 4250 910 kV motor, and I've got this other motor, which is a 4250 800 kV. It's not a better motor, it's just a different motor. Lower kV means the RPMs per volt will be a little bit less, but being that this motor and the one we talked about earlier are the exact same size, the strength will be there. The strength is the same, but the RPMs are less, so we can put just a little bigger propeller and still use the same battery. You know, we'll get the same draw out of it. This particular plane, the way it's designed is there's really no dihedral in the wings, so there's basically no top and no bottom. It can fly upside down just about as good as it can fly right side up. So when we mount the motor, a lot of motors on conventional planes, they'll be tilted to their right and down a little bit, and that's to compensate for the torque roll of the motor. Just the turning of the motor is going to want to make the tail pull, and with the dihedral of the wings, having the tilt down a little bit is going to help give it the whole plane get some lift. So all we're going to do is just angle it to the right. It's right just a little bit, and we'll just use some washers or something. We'll figure it out right now. All right, before we mount the motor, the way this setup is for the wires leading from the motor to the speed control, they've got this hole right here, so they want us to mount the motor, you know, this way. And I'm going to make this hole just a little bit bigger. That way the wires aren't making such a sharp bend to go in there. And I threw down an old pillowcase to catch the sawdust. And I'm just going to try to dig in here with the dremel tool. I think that looks pretty good right there. We'll see what you guys think of it. Yeah, you can see it. I'd say it needs to be a little bit Get that going. Have to blow this thing out with an air blower or something. That might be as good as it's going to get. If I keep going any farther, I'll be eating into the side of the fuselage there. But yeah, we'll just go with that. It may have helped a little. Give you guys a peek at the inside there too. You can see the hole that we dug out a little bit. Oh, there's Brutus. So we got our hole for the wires opened up a little bit, and I went ahead and stuck the screws in the motor, and then I've got some washers on the side that I want to stick out a little bit. And we're just going to try to dry fit it without losing anything. Just kind of get them going there, and then we'll get them straight and try to get them started. Just kind of gently get them going, see if they can bite a little bit. And don't want to cross thread them. See what that looks like. Dry fitted. The screws are just in there a thread or two. Let's go ahead and tighten them up and see what the angle looks like. I want to make sure I don't strip out the back of these bind nuts. So we'll just kind of gently get them going at first. If you gotta wiggle and jiggle the motor to get things lined up, because we stuck all 4 screws in at once, so in hopes the washers wouldn't fall off. But it's kind of a pain to get one screw started, then try to get the washer behind it, the spacer and all that. And when they're screwing in easy like that, you're okay. And I didn't tuck the dang wires in there. You guys supposed to tell me that, man. You're supposed to say, hey Sean, hey, remember the hole you made, man? When we do decide that this is all permanent, not a bad idea to put some glue on those bind nuts. And as you're tightening the screws and they're digging in, it's digging down into a little bit of epoxy or something. Just a little extra strength, But you don't want to get me on the thread, so you can take the screws out again. Boy, that hole we made is really not big enough to put those wires on. Really good bind. You see that? I mean, they're turning sharp in there. Sharp, sharp, sharp. Let's see if I can get my light again. I don't know if it messes you guys up or not, but that's too sharp. That really is, because it's only a matter of time until the coating starts cracking right there, and then if the wires touch each other, that's bad news. This plane is not designed for looks really at all. I might take these wires and go around and come in. Let me pause. I'm gonna think about that. So I've taken the motor back off, and I'm gonna make this hole a little bit bigger instead of that idea about going around. Maybe you guys can see what we got going on here. See, we got room there's a little corner piece glued in. I'm gonna sand into that some more, and then we'll just kind of take a look at it then and see if we still feel like the firewall is strong enough. We won't go all the way through it, but since it's doubled up, the plywood for the for the firewall, plus it has that little corner piece in it, technically twice as strong in that area. So if we take half of it out, My theory is we're back to the same strength that it was. Another thing is, if you're about to start, whittling wood, don't leave your motor underneath it. Now the sawdust is going to go in there, your bearings are going to get messed up. So just think about, little things like that. What's it looking like now? I'm just going to clean it up, and we'll go with that. So to catch everybody up, we've mounted the motor. It's not permanent. It's just the screws are just snug. And then there's a hole right here for the motor wires to go in. And we enlarged it a little bit with a Dremel to keep the wires from having to make such a sharp bend going in. Let me show you that. I don't know if this light helps or not, but you can see right in here is where we sanded it out a little bit and gave it just a bigger hole, so the wires don't bend as sharp. I even thought about, that this plane is not for looks at all. Not at all. I almost thought about having the wires go back in, loop around and go around. A snug bend right around this edge is not going to mess up any of the flight characteristics at all. But I think we're going to be okay right there. They're still pretty sharp, but at least they're not sharp enough where they're kinked, And the next thing we're going to do is put the prop on and see what the angle looks like. Because, we've added 2 washers on this side here so that we can space the motor out to give it the angle we need. I've got a prop here. It's not necessarily the one I'm going to use at all, but we'll put it on, that way we can kind of get an idea of the angle, how sharp it's actually leaning to one side. I've been trying every angle I can with the camera to see if you guys can see what I see, but maybe you guys can see the angle here of the prop. It should be tilted to the right. This blade is down a little bit compared to the other side. And then there's the hole where we sanded out for the wires so they're not as steep. There's a little bit of a angle stock in there to strengthen it up already. There we go. Boy, if I could do that all the time, you guys would give me A pluses. But I'm going to take the prop off now. We'll mix up a little bit of a 2-part epoxy, and we'll glue those bind nuts into place. I got a stir stick, got something to mix it on. The epoxy is warm. That's probably enough. This is 6-minute epoxy too, so got to be on your game right here. That's about 50-50. And then my plan is to just kind of let it run off the stir stick. Kind of let it drip where it needs to go. Little lump right there, don't need that. I'll just kind of get some on here. Through the hole you go. Just kind of hold it and see if we can get one started. Feels like they're all threading in there good, and nothing getting cross threaded on us or anything. Sweet. All right, let's run it on in now. Kind of draw it in a little bit at a time on each one. If it's on a big angle, it'd be hard to get the screwdriver on it and all that. We'll have to use a different screwdriver to tighten them up. This one's too fat. It's kind of, it'll be touching the motor when they're in there real far. This plane stand right here is actually really good. I hated to spend the money on something that I can make, or but this was one of those sales that pop up at Tower Hobbies that you got to get lucky. Like, check the website when they're having the sales, or pay attention to your email. But there'll be like a 4-hour flash sale, and they'll have a lot of stuff like 50% off sometimes. I think it was less than 20, that's for sure. We'll get a longer screwdriver to tighten it up. And we'll call this job done. We're golden. Here's a little glimpse of the screen here, just so you can see that right on the transmitter screen is the whole. It is just an Android phone. So all this screen recording stuff is going to be a whole lot easier once I figure it out. Well, hey, that's how I put the motor on the Uproar, and we'll start getting some of the servos in the fuselage and figuring out what we're going to do with just behind the motor on the firewall with the screws and the motor shaft and all that, so we don't damage the battery. We got several things to do with that. But hey, look here, guys, I can't say thank you enough for everything. It's going to be a great spring and summer flying season. I can't say thank you enough for everybody that's hung out this long, and all the new subscribers. It's really made me feel pretty dang good about this. At the very beginning, I got a little discouraged, but thanks to you guys and the hints and what you're wanting to see, and I think it's working out good for everybody. All right, guys. Hey, the next video is going to be fixing my buddy's carbon cub so he can use it this weekend, and I got a bunch of other stuff coming for the weekend. Thank you, guys. Until next time, you'll see me here. I'll really turn it off this time.